Hello, freaks! It's time for a movie review, and yes, you can see the location change. I just wanted to shake things up for this review. But you saw the title, we're reviewing the new and so called improved Lion King. I just got back from seeing it just an hour ago, so I'm very fresh off the bat from all this. But honestly, I've got to be honest. Most of what I saw was not so nice, let's put it like that. But let's start with the things that I did like. I know that they did take some liberties in some certain moments with camera angles, with things in terms of basically not just casting but the line delivery itself, and some of those things were nice to hear. It's always very, very good to hear different interpretations of things, but those things were very minimal throughout the movie. Very few lines were different from what I remember, in a good way at least, and there were a lot of moments where some of the changes were a bit questionable, but we'll get into that later. Another thing that was pretty decent, of course, was the animation. I could tell they put a lot of time and effort into that CGI. I know a lot of people have said the facial expressions on the animals were unnatural and weird to look at. I didn't think it was as bad as people made it out to be. I mean, if you're going for realism, then the facial expressions need to be minimal, and I think they did a decent job with that, because instead of making them extremely expressive, they focused more on movement of basically walk cycles, of breathing, of different types of motions that every animal is able to do. I feel like that was a little bit better than what I expected it to be. And now let's get on to everything else. So basically, my biggest pet peeve with this movie is it feels like it's not trying very hard in everything else except for the animation department. The whole time, it just feels like the whole movie knows that it's not going to live up to the original, so it's just rushing everything just to get to the end. This movie felt very, very rushed. There are so many moments, even throughout the musical numbers, where basically they would draw out parts that really didn't matter, and then they would very quickly gloss over things that were very big plot points in the original. For example, we know that, spoilers, I guess, but if you haven't seen the original Lion King, then you probably shouldn't be watching my channel. The thing is that we know that Nala goes to find Simba, or at least she doesn't go to specifically find Simba, but to go get help, right? That is completely, it's evident, and it makes sense when she explains it very briefly in the original. But they spend a whole scene drawing out how she has to escape from Scar and leave Pride Rock, with all the lionesses telling her to not go, and blah 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 blah. There's so many more moments that they could have put more focus on. For example, moments with Scar, because the Be Prepared song was cut very, very short. There were moments that could have shown character development between Simba and his dad, which did not very much happen in this film. But no, they chose to focus on Nala escaping, which is probably the least important part of the whole entire movie until she actually finds Simba. It doesn't make any sense to me. A lot of the voice acting, I know I mentioned line delivery before, but that delivery, the difference in line delivery is welcome. I'm not saying it has to be exactly like the original film, but it didn't feel like there was a lot of heart put into it. Basically, lines where you would expect a person to raise their voice, they raise their voice, but it doesn't feel like any emotion was put behind it. It's like, this character is supposed to be having an emotional moment, but it doesn't come through very well through the voices, which is really important considering, like what we said before, since they're going for realism, the animals aren't going to have a lot of facial expressions that you can get that emotion out of. Another thing that really, really bothered me was the choices in music. And I'm not going to just be like every other reviewer and say, oh no, there was a pop song, which automatically ruins the whole entire movie. That's stupid, and people need to stop saying that. But what I can complain about very honestly is definitely there were a lot of moments where they either would speed up or slow down certain parts of the original score, and they would do it in such inappropriate moments. They would basically put, think of it like this. If there was an extreme plot point where the score rises and it feels like there's tension in the air, they speed through that part to get to the more mellow stuff. And when there's supposed to be a mellow moment, they speed up to go to the intense music. It's so unfitting, and it bothered me throughout the movie so much. I think the biggest, most jarring one was probably at the very end when Simba goes up to Pride Rock to do his roar. And the thing is that this whole time I'm thinking to myself, this is supposed to be the moment of truth in the movie. Simba has finally found his place. He's finally accepted who he is. And this is supposed to be the moment where his roar signifies the fact that he's come a long way and the fact that he's done a lot to get to where he is. He's done a lot of self-realization. But no, instead of timing the roar with the downbeat of the climax of the song, they make it happen in the middle of it and then use this weird transition into the ending. Considering the fact that, at least in the very opening scene of this movie, the very, very beginning of it, they tried to make it beat for beat, just like the animated version. They use the same shots, the same angles, the same transitions. It almost gives you some false hope at the very beginning that they're going to keep that up through the whole entire film. But they don't. They just rush everything. I don't know, maybe that's just me, but I felt like it was very ill-timed, and timing is everything in films. Another thing, finally, I think my only other complaint would be definitely the humor. The humor in this film is, it's practically non-existent. It's basically to the point where you can tell when they're trying to be funny, but everyone has a different sense of humor. But I can almost guarantee you that a lot of these jokes won't make you laugh out loud. They might make you smile, but they won't make you actually enjoy yourself the way the animated version did. And the biggest reason for that is not just because the original was animated and had more leeway with all the things that they could do with it, but it also is more so with basically, instead of updating old jokes that were from the original, they try to put in their own slang that is very, very unfitting for the characters to be saying. And I'm not trying to say that they shouldn't try to be creative with some things. I welcome changes, but I want those changes to actually improve the film, not just be a change just to make a change. I think the only other thing I really wanted to talk about was, again, with the transitions, I really, really, really did not like a lot of the transitions. They could have put so much more effort into the sweeping shots of Africa. They could have made all these different camera choices in terms of actually showing passage of time. But no, they rushed through it. And I'm just, it makes me feel like I can't fully immersify myself into this movie because of the fact that the transitions are so sloppy and forced, and all the characters feel sloppy and forced. And that's not because the original did it better. It's because this new version basically knows you've already seen the previous version, so it thinks, oh, I know these characters are supposed to be close to each other. I know that Simba and his dad are supposed to have a playful relationship, so we don't have to put too much time and effort into establishing it. It's just everything, no. I'm sorry, I'm getting tired. Talking about this movie kind of wears me out because I feel like there were so many missed opportunities. it's not bad in the sense that Aladdin was bad and bad, because Aladdin was bad simply because they used all their best shots in the trailer and used the rest of the time to basically put ill-paced moments of no character development whatsoever, and that's not fun. And then it's different. It's also different from, say, Beauty and the Beast or Cinderella. Those remakes, yes, they made everything look super pretty like The Lion King did, but the real problem with those movies was it was more of a problem with not being able to truly feel the characters and feel the setting, because because those ones sorry, lost my train of thought. Those ones basically focus more on the aesthetic rather than focusing on the heart and the message. But this film is something, The Lion King is something altogether different, and it disappointed me on a different level. I mean, would I recommend it to the next generation of kids who probably won't get to see the original Lion King? Maybe, I don't know. It's kind of hard to say which one I would say, if I had kids, which one I would want them to see, because I mean, they each have strengths and weaknesses, but the weaknesses in the new version is they're just so much more apparent. I don't know. What do you guys think? What did you like? What did you dislike? What were you able to gain from the movie's new additions, and what did you think was a kind of a pointless addition to the movie? Other than that, that's all I really wanted to say. Feel free to discuss in the comments, just be civil, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!